That steak and kidney pie you just bought contains less than 12% actual beef. The rest is mechanically recovered meat paste, industrial fillers, and chemicals designed to mimic the taste and texture of real meat. UK meat pie brands are selling you industrial slop in traditional packaging. They're using the cheapest meat scraps possible, loading products with sodium nitrite linked to cancer, and adding chemicals that have been banned in other countries. In the next few minutes, I'm exposing 8 UK meat pie brands with shockingly low meat content, revealing exactly what they're using to bulk out the filling and make small amounts of poor quality meat seem substantial, and showing you 3 brands still making proper pies the traditional way. I'll also give you the simple checks you can do in the supermarket to identify the worst offenders before you buy them. Let's cut through the pastry and see what's really inside. Number 8. Mr. Kipling mince pies. Mr. Kipling markets itself as a traditional British brand with exceedingly good products. Their mincemeat pies are exceedingly processed with ingredients that would horrify you. The meat content averages just 15% across their range. 85% is pastry, water, and industrial fillers designed to create bulk without nutrition. A former Premier Foods quality manager told me, Mr. Kipling meat pies use whatever cheap protein we could source. Mechanically recovered meat, offal, and meat scraps that wouldn't qualify for human consumption in some countries. The beef in their steak pies is mechanically recovered meat, scraps blasted off bones with high-pressure water, creating a paste that's reformed into chunks. You're not eating steak, you're eating processed meat slurry. Mr. Kipling adds sodium nitrite as a preservative. This chemical maintains pink color in processed meat but forms nitrosamines in your stomach, compounds linked to colorectal cancer by the World Health Organization. The pastry contains hydrogenated vegetable oil, a source of trans fats that increases bad cholesterol and heart disease risk. Most countries have banned trans fats, but UK regulations still allow them in processed foods. They use yeast extract, which is hidden MSG, designed to create addictive umami flavors. This industrial flavor enhancer makes you crave more while masking the bland taste of cheap ingredients. Each pie contains over 1.2 grams of salt. That's nearly 20% of your daily limit in one small pie. This excessive sodium is necessary to make low-quality ingredients palatable. Mr. Kipling charges around £2 for a pack of 4 pies. You're paying premium prices for mechanically recovered meat mixed with industrial chemicals. The suitable for freezing claim means these pies are loaded with preservatives and stabilizers. Real meat pies made with quality ingredients don't freeze well without chemical intervention. But traditional branding concealing industrial processing is just the beginning. Number 7. Wall's Medium Pork Pies. Wall's pork pies trade on over 2 centuries of heritage, but modern production methods have nothing to do with traditional butchery. These pies contain industrial pork processing that would shock Victorian customers. The pork content is typically 18 to 20%. The remaining 80% is pastry, water, gelatin, and fillers. You're buying mostly wheat flour and water for meat pie prices. A former Wall's production supervisor revealed pork pies use every part of the pig that can't be sold elsewhere. Skin, fat trimmings, mechanically recovered meat from bones and organs that most people wouldn't recognize as food. The pork jelly isn't traditional bone broth. It's industrial gelatin made from pig skin and bones processed with acids and alkalis to extract collagen. This creates an artificial gel texture without the nutrition of real bone broth. Wall's adds sodium nitrite and potassium nitrate as preservatives. These chemicals prevent botulism but create cancer-causing nitrosamines when combined with stomach acid. Regular consumption significantly increases colorectal cancer risk. The seasoning contains monosodium glutamate disguised as a flavor enhancer. This creates artificial taste intensity while masking the bland flavor of cheap pork scraps mixed with industrial fillers. Each pork pie contains over 2 grams of salt. That's 1/3 of your daily sodium limit in a single pie. This excessive salt is necessary because low-quality pork has minimal natural flavor. The pastry uses palm oil, contributing to rainforest destruction while providing cheap, saturated fat. premium pork pies use butter or lard, but industrial producers choose the cheapest options available. Walls charges £3 to £4 for individual pork pies. You're paying artisan prices for factory-produced meat paste encased in industrial pastry. The extended shelf life of 3 weeks refrigerated is only possible through aggressive chemical preservation. Traditional pork pies made with quality ingredients boil within days. Ginsters takes industrial meat processing to disturbing extremes. Number 6. Ginsters Steak Bakes. Ginsters steak bakes contain some of the lowest meat content in the UK pie industry. The steak comprises just 8 to 12% of total weight. You're essentially buying pastry with meat-flavoured filling. The steak isn't a recognisable cut of beef, it's reformed meat made from scraps, mechanically recovered meat, and beef protein concentrate mixed with water to create artificial chunks. A former Ginsters factory worker told me, steak bakes used whatever beef waste we could get cheaply. Trimmings from processing plants, mechanically recovered meat, and protein powders mixed with binding agents to look like real meat. Ginsters uses beef protein concentrate, an industrial powder made by chemically treating beef scraps to extract protein. This creates an artificial meat texture without using actual muscle meat. The filling contains modified cornstarch as a thickener. This industrial starch is chemically altered to create a gel-like consistency that mimics meat juice but contains no nutritional value from real beef. They add caramel colouring to make the pale, reformed meat look like properly cooked beef. This artificial colouring is created by heating sugars to extreme temperatures, creating compounds that some studies link to cancer. Each steak bake contains over 2.5 grams of salt. That's nearly half your daily sodium limit in one pastry. This extreme salt content is necessary to make reformed meat scraps taste like real steak. Ginsters use artificial beef flavouring rather than natural meat taste. These are industrial chemicals designed to trigger beef taste receptors while containing no actual beef essence. The pastry contains preservatives including calcium propionate and potassium sorbate. These chemicals extend shelf life but can cause allergic reactions and digestive problems in sensitive people. Ginsters charges £2 for steak bakes containing 12% mystery meat. You're paying beef prices for reformed scraps and industrial chemicals. The suitable for vegetarians joke isn't far off. These contain so little actual meat, they're essentially vegetable products with beef flavouring. Holland's Pies represents everything wrong with industrial meat processing. If you're still watching, you've probably bought at least 2 of these problematic brands, thinking all meat pies are basically the same. That's exactly what food manufacturers want. They want you to buy out of habit without checking what you're actually getting. The brands coming up next have meat content so low it's borderline fraudulent. 9 to 18% of meat in products called meat pies. The rest is water, flour and thickeners engineered to seem like a proper filling. If someone in your life is still buying budget meat pies thinking they're getting decent value, send this their way. One ingredient check could change what ends up in their oven. Number 5. Holland's Pies. Meat and potato. Holland's Pies meat and potato pies epitomise the race to the bottom in UK pie manufacturing. The meat content has dropped to just 10%, while prices have increased dramatically. The meat is an undefined protein that could be beef, pork, or a mixture of various animal parts. Holland's deliberately keeps meat descriptions vague to use whatever is cheapest. A Holland supplier revealed meat and potato pies use bottom-grade protein unsuitable for anything else. Mechanically recovered meat, connective tissue and organs mixed with potato to create bulk without cost. The potato content is dehydrated potato flakes rather than fresh potatoes. These industrial flakes are mixed with water and stabilizers to create a fake potato texture without nutritional benefits. Holland's adds monosodium glutamate to enhance umami flavor artificially. This additive masks the bland taste of cheap ingredients while creating addiction-like cravings for more processed food. The gravy is artificial thickening made from modified starch, artificial colors, and beef flavoring. No real beef stock is used, just chemicals designed to simulate meat taste. They use sodium nitrite as a preservative, which combines with proteins to form nitrosamines in your digestive system. These compounds are classified as probable carcinogens by international health authorities. Each pie contains nearly 3 grams of salt. That's half your daily sodium intake in one pie. This massive salt content is essential because the ingredients have no natural flavor. The pastry contains hydrogenated vegetable oil, providing trans fats that increase cardiovascular disease risk. Many countries have banned these artificial fats from food production. Holland charges around £1.50 per pint for 10% mystery meat mixed with industrial chemicals. You're paying for processed food engineering, not nutrition. The pies are designed for maximum shelf life rather than food quality. Chemical preservatives allow these products to last weeks without refrigeration. Number 4. Pukka Pies Steak and Kidney. Pukka Pies positions itself as a premium brand with proper ingredients. Their steak and kidney pies contain industrial meat processing disguised as traditional British cuisine. The steak content is around 14%, but it's not recognizable beef cuts. Pukka uses reformed meat made from various beef scraps pressed together with binding agents. The kidney content is even more disturbing. Typically pig kidney rather than beef kidney, chosen because it's significantly cheaper than traditional ingredients. A former Pukka production manager told me, steak and kidney pies use whatever kidneys we could source cheaply, usually pig kidneys because they're industrial waste from pork processing that nobody else wants. Pukka adds beef protein isolate to increase protein content without using actual meat. This industrial powder is made by chemically treating beef waste to extract protein molecules. The gravy contains artificial beef flavoring, caramel coloring, and modified starch. No real beef stock is used, just chemicals designed to simulate traditional gravy taste and appearance. They use sodium nitrite and sodium nitrate as preservatives. These chemicals maintain color in processed meat but form cancer-causing compounds when digested. Each pie contains over 2.8 grams of salt. That's nearly 50% of your daily sodium limit in one pie. This excessive salt masks the poor quality of reformed meat and industrial fillers. The pastry uses palm oil instead of traditional butter or lard. This cheap fat contributes to environmental destruction while providing inferior taste and nutrition. Pukka charges £3 to £4 for individual pies containing 14% reformed meat. You're paying premium prices for industrial waste disguised as traditional food. The no artificial colours claim is meaningless when the meat itself is artificially reconstructed from scraps and binding agents. Number 3. Frey Bentos Steak and Kidney Pies. Frey Bentos tinned pies represent industrial food at its most artificial. These shelf-stable products contain mechanically processed meat that bears no resemblance to traditional ingredients. The meat content is approximately 12%, but calling it meat is generous. Frey Bentos uses mechanically recovered beef and pork mixed with protein powders and binding agents. The kidney content is primarily pork kidney processed into paste, not the beef kidney traditionally used in British steak and kidney pies. A former Frey Bentos quality controller told me, tinned pies use meat rejected by other manufacturers. Mechanically recovered scraps, protein concentrates, and organ meat that most people wouldn't recognize as food. Frey Bentos adds beef protein concentrate and pork protein isolate to boost protein content artificially. These industrial powders are created by chemically processing meat waste to extract protein molecules. The gravy is entirely artificial. Modified starch, artificial flavors, caramel coloring, and preservatives. No real meat stock is used in production. They use an extensive list of preservatives including sodium nitrite, potassium nitrate, and sodium metabisulfite. These chemicals allow shelf storage without refrigeration but create health risks with regular consumption. Frey Bentos charges £2 for tins containing 12% mechanically recovered meat. You're paying for chemical preservation and industrial processing, not food quality. The ability to store these pies at room temperature for months is only possible through aggressive chemical treatment that destroys nutritional value. Now here's where it gets insulting. You'd expect this from budget tins and frozen pies, but the next two brands charge premium prices, wrap themselves in fancy packaging, and still deliver shockingly low meat content. Paying more doesn't mean you're eating better. Number 2. Sainsbury's Taste the Difference. British steak and mushroom pie. Sainsbury's Taste the Difference is the supermarket's premium range, positioned above their standard products with packaging emphasising British sourcing and quality. The steak and mushroom pie costs around £5, premium pricing suggesting generous meat content and proper ingredients. The filling contains water, British beef at 18%, mushrooms at 7%, wheat flour, onions, red wine, beef stock, modified maize starch, tomato puree, garlic puree, salt, sugar, thyme, black pepper and bay. That's 18% beef in a £5 premium steak pie. You're paying premium prices for a pie that's less than 1/5 meat. The British qualifier on the beef is doing marketing work to distract from how little of it there actually is. Yes, the beef is British sourced, but there's barely any of it in the pie you're buying. The wheat flour in the filling is performing double duty as a cheap filler and thickener. It bulks out the sauce and creates body without requiring more expensive ingredients. The modified maize starch adds extra thickening because wheat flour alone can't create the texture they want from mostly water. The red wine is listed, but no percentage is given, suggesting it's minimal. Wine is expensive, so they've added just enough to list it on the label and justify the premium positioning. The actual flavour contribution is probably negligible compared to what you'd get in a restaurant steak and ale pie, made with a proper amount of wine. Number 1. Asda Extra Special Steak and Ale Pie. Asda Extra Special is the supermarket's premium range, positioned as higher quality than standard Asda products. The steak and ale pie comes in attractive packaging with rustic imagery suggesting traditional pub food. It costs around £4, premium pricing that suggests quality ingredients and generous meat content. But read the ingredients and the reality is very different. The filling contains water as the first ingredient, which immediately tells you this pie is more liquid than solid. Then beef at just 17%, meaning less than 1/5 of the filling is actual meat. Then onions, ale at 4%, wheat flour, modified maize starch, beef extract, tomato puree, salt, sugar, colour, plain caramel, yeast extract, and black pepper. 17% beef in a steak pie is shockingly low for a premium product. You're paying £4 for a pie, where less than 1/5 of the filling is meat. The rest is water thickened with modified starch to create the illusion of a substantial filling. The beef extract and yeast extract are there to amplify flavour, because 17% beef doesn't provide enough natural meat taste. These are concentrated flavour compounds used to make small amounts of meat taste more intense. Real steak pie made with proper beef content doesn't need flavour enhancers because the meat provides a rich taste naturally. The caramel colour is added to make the gravy look dark and rich, like it's been made from well-browned meat and reduced stock. Actually, it's water and modified starch coloured to look like proper gravy. You're being visually deceived into thinking the filling is richer than it is. After exposing these 8 brands, you're probably wondering if any shop-bought meat pies are safe. If you want actual meat pies instead of industrial flour paste with meat flavouring, here are 3 UK brands making proper pies the traditional way. Number 1. Pie Minister. Pie Minister is a British pie company started in Bristol, making proper pies with substantial meat content and real ingredients. Their steak and ale pie contains British beef at 37%, ale, onions, carrots, beef stock, corn flour, tomato puree, garlic, thyme, bay, salt and pepper in short crust pastry made with wheat flour, butter, water and salt. 37% beef. Compare that to Asda's 17% or Iceland's 9% chicken. You're getting more than 3 times the meat content of budget pies and double the content of premium supermarket ranges. This is what proper steak pie should have. The ingredients are recognizable foods you'd use at home. Real butter in the pastry, not palm oil and emulsifiers. Corn flour for thickening, not modified maize starch. Actual carrots and onions, not dried vegetables. Proper ale at a meaningful percentage, not token amounts for the label. You know how Prime Minister pies have visible chunks of beef that you can see and identify? Like you can actually spot individual pieces of meat rather than vague brownness. That's what 37% meat content looks like. Real chunks of British beef, not paste or mechanically recovered scraps. The gravy is thickened by the natural gelatin released from slow-cooked beef, not by industrial thickeners. When the pie is cold, the gravy sets to a soft jelly naturally. When heated, it becomes a rich sauce that coats the beef. This is how real meat gravy behaves when it's made from actual meat stock. It's available in Waitrose, Tesco and independent food shops. Costs around £4.50 for a large individual pie. More expensive than supermarket pies, but you're getting genuine meat content and quality ingredients instead of water and modified starch with token meat. Number 2. Wright's Pies. Wright's is a Lancashire pie company that's been making pies since the 1860s, genuinely maintaining traditional methods and recipes. Their steak and kidney pie contains British beef at 28%, British kidney at 7%, giving 35% total meat content. The rest is onions, water, wheat flour, beef stock, salt and pepper in a short crust pastry made with wheat flour, vegetable fat and water. 35% of the meat in total. That's proper pie. Compare that to Frey Bentos at 20% or Holland's at 10%. Wright's is using more than 3 times the meat content of Holland's despite both companies claiming Lancashire heritage. The ingredients list is short and honest. No modified starch, no xanthan gum, no flavour enhancers, no caramel colouring. Just meat, vegetables, stock, flour for thickening, and seasoning. This is how pies were made before industrial food engineering took over. The texture is completely different from supermarket pies. Wright's has chunks of steak and pieces of kidney you can identify. The gravy is thinner because it's natural, not thickened to gel consistency with industrial gums. When you bite into it, you're biting into meat, not paste. You know how proper butcher or bakery pies taste richer and more satisfying than supermarket pies, even though they seem less thick? That's real meat content creating genuine flavour and nutrition. Supermarket pies feel thick from thickeners but don't satisfy hunger. Wright's satisfies because it contains actual food. Available in northern supermarkets, independent pie shops and online. Costs around £3.50 for a large pie. Comparable to premium supermarket pies but with double the meat content and none of the industrial additives. 9% chicken is appalling. This next brand proves proper pie making still exists. Number 3. The Cornish Bakery. The Cornish Bakery makes traditional Cornish pasties and pies using proper recipes and local ingredients where possible. Their steak pasty contains British beef at 42%, potato, swede, onion, water, salt and white pepper in pastry made with wheat flour, margarine, water and salt. 42% beef. That's the highest meat content of any commercial pie or pasty we found. Nearly half the filling is actual beef. Compare that to Iceland at 9% chicken. You're getting more than 4 times the meat content. Cornish pasties are regulated. To be called a Cornish pasty, they must meet specific standards, including minimum meat content and production in Cornwall. The Cornish Bakery pasties are genuine protected geographical indication products, meaning they're legally required to meet quality standards. The filling is chunks of beef skirt, a traditional cut used in pasties because it becomes tender during baking. You can see and feel individual pieces of meat. The potato, swede and onion are chunky too. Nothing is pured or processed into a paste. This is recognizable ingredients wrapped in pastry. You know how real Cornish pasties are hearty and filling in a way supermarket pies aren't. Like one pasty actually satisfies hunger for hours. That's 42% meat content plus potato, providing real nutrition. Your body recognizes this as food and processes it as sustenance. Supermarket pies with 10% meat don't satisfy because there's no substance. The gravy in a traditional pasty comes from the meat and vegetables releasing juices during baking. There's no added sauce or thickened gravy. The filling is slightly moist from natural cooking juices, not swimming in engineered gravy made from water and modified starch. It's available in the Cornish Bakery shops across the southwest and in some Waitrose stores. Costs around £4 for a large pasty. Premium pricing, but you're getting protected geographical indication quality with 42% British beef. Not everyone can access these brands or afford the higher price tag. I get that. So if you're stuck shopping in a regular supermarket and need to grab what's on the shelf, these 4 quick checks will protect you every single time. The first one builds tension before the premium brand reveals. The second one bridges into the practical tips with empathy, stops it feeling preachy for viewers on a budget. First check, read the ingredients list and find the meat percentage. By UK law, manufacturers must state the meat content if they mention the type of meat on the label. If it says steak pie, they must tell you what percentage is beef. This is usually in small print near the ingredients. Anything under 20% is unacceptable. Under 15% is basically fraud. Under 10% shouldn't be allowed to call itself a meat pie. Look for pies with 30% or higher meat content if you want a proper pie. Second check, look at ingredient order. Ingredients are listed by weight. If water is listed before meat, you're buying gravy with token meat, not meat in gravy. Water should appear after the main protein if the pie has decent meat content. If you see wheat flour or modified starch before or immediately after the meat, they're bulking out the filling with cheap thickeners rather than using proper meat content. Real pies use flour to thicken gravy, not as a primary filler. Third check, scan for thickeners and gums. Modified maize starch, xanthan gum, guar gum. These industrial thickeners are used because there's not enough meat to create natural gravy from gelatin and proteins. Real meat pies don't need gums because slow-cooked meat creates natural thickening. Final check, look for flavor enhancers. MSG, yeast extract, beef extract, chicken extract. These are used to amplify weak meat flavor from low content. If a pie needs flavor enhancers, the meat content is too low to provide a natural taste. Proper pies with adequate meat don't need chemical flavor boosters. So what do you think? Are you shocked by how little meat is in supermarket pies? Did you realize that steak pie could be less than 20% beef? Drop a comment below because I want to know which brand surprised you most. And if this video just saved you from eating flour paste with meat flavoring, share it. Send it to anyone still buying Frey Bentos or Iceland pies thinking they're reasonable meals. Your family deserves to know what they're actually eating. Anyone who wants proper meat pies instead of industrial engineering.